All right, hello and welcome to the Rambling Robin podcast. I am Robin, and today I'll be rambling a little bit about the things that I like to talk about. So, for today's episode, for today's podcast, I was thinking I wanted to do a continuation of the last podcast I did. So, if you haven't listened to or watched the last episode I did, you might want to get to that before you get into this one, because this. We'll be continuing from what we did last time. So last time, if we just do this, bam. So if you're in the video version right now, you can see I'm back to the little brainstorming thing we did last time. So we created this character, Araspi Attaben. Araspi Attaben. Oh, wrong layer there. Let's go here. So Araspi Attaben. So that's the name we settled on for this spider-based character. So I created him because it was Halloween when I made the video, when I made the podcast. Really not sure when the video is going to be up, but the podcast is definitely up. But either way, so it's this spider-like magician character, and I guess... after thinking a little bit about this character after the last episode, so basically since last episode I haven't really worked on the character, so to say, but I've had him in the back of my mind. I've been thinking about, like, okay, what could he be doing, what do I want to make different and stuff like that, just compared to what we came to last time. So this thing about controlling spiders, I don't know if I'll be doing that, because it just feels a little bit too standard. And then if he's controlling spiders, then it would have to be, then spiders in this world would definitely have to be in a lot of varying sizes, because just controlling a bunch of small spiders, though pretty cool, I would want to have, like, I want Araspi to be able to, like, ride spiders, if that was the case. But then I decided to try to lean into this part with the webs a little bit more, like maybe it's the web magician, right? Araspi Attaben is a spider guy, but it's because he's so fascinated with the webs, and he decided to focus all his research and energy into making the perfect type of magical webbing, right? So it would be easier to, for example, like maybe build a town in an area that would be unlivable otherwise. For example, in the trees, or maybe in the trees would be more, it would be livable, but like maybe like just between two canyons or something, like just in places where you wouldn't really build a town, right? But where you might find spider webs, just something like that, right? Is what I've been thinking. So I kind of wanted to lean into that. But then I also, if you're watching the video version, got a little treat here. So we did a little brainstorm thing. But since then, I've also worked a little bit on Araspi. So this, if you're watching the video version, I've got a much more detailed sketch of what I'm thinking Araspi to be. So I want him to look very, like, I guess you would call, like, dirty, right? I would want to call this dirty, at least. So we got him. He's got these. He's, first of all, his body type is very, like, you can tell that this guy doesn't really do a lot of moving around unless it's required. That's kind of the body type I wanted to go for. Like, I wanted to be like this dreary, dark kind of character, like design, because it's spiders, and like I wanted to get this little creepy feeling across. And then we also have like the big spider butt that I wanted him to have, and I decided, like, okay, let's just keep going with that, because that's where the webbing comes out of. And then I thought, like, okay, how about we just make, like, what Araspi probably would think that just having one place where you can shoot the webbing out of is to a degree somewhat inconvenient, especially when it's from your butt, so it's only behind you and a human can only move like so much as a spider is, right? So we would need to compensate. So he's got his little magic hat, or whatever you want to call it, his wizard's hat. So like, I don't know. He's got a little magic hat. He's got his staff, and he's got a little thing with his belt going on here. All of these, like, they're these orange, basically just spider butts that he's placed all over himself, so he can shoot webbing from the thing by his belt, like his belt buckle, I guess you could call it. He can shoot webbing from the staff and from the top of his head, and all of these things are some, like, they're affixed to something. So the belt buckle, of course, his belt is affixed to him. The thing on his head is actually, it's actually growing out of his head, similarly to how the actual, like, big spider butt he has behind him is actually growing out of him. It is because of, I guess you could say, like, the research that he did basically just brought him to the point where, like, all right, I'm pretty sure I could start growing spider butts from myself now. And it sounds a lot sillier when you say it out loud than it looks, even though it looks really stupid. But that's kind of what I'm going for. I want to do, because one thing that I love, and I'm going to gush a little bit about One Piece, but one thing I love about One Piece is that Oda, he can just create these characters that look silly and stupid, right? And he gives them a backstory, basically, that makes us all love them. Yeah, but the one thing that I really, really like about the way he tells the stories is that he will create these stupid looking characters, and then he will make them badass. Like, you watch these characters fight and stuff, and then you think, like, oh my god, it's so cool that this character does this. And that's kind of what I want to try to do here with the Araspi, is that he's supposed to look like stupid and kind of like, oh, what the hell is this, like some kind of like weird hobo, I don't get this character, right? But he's one of the 14 great sages. He's one of the most powerful magicians in recorded history. He's a magician. He helped stop the Great Disaster. I won't tell you what that is, but like, he's one of the 14 people that came together and stopped the Great Disaster. He's proven himself to be incredibly powerful time and time again. He's not recognized as one of the 14 great sages for nothing. So I want him to be a badass. And I it's just like, I love that thought, right? This character that I've created, because he looks really stupid. If you're listening to the podcast, I can't go through like the look of him entirely, because like, I'm not very good at explaining that kind of stuff. So you'll have to watch the video when it's available. But yeah, he looks so weird. He looks so weird. But then imagine this guy just jumping around. He's like spewing out webs from his butt head, I guess, from his head butt, from his staff butt, from his big butt, from his belt buckle butt. He's spewing webs all over, and then he can, of course, he can control these webs in different ways, right? Because he's still a magician. He wouldn't just think of like, okay, I can spit web like a spider. Cool. Now it's like, now I can just build my own little spider web. No, of course not. He uses the webbing. He creates things with it, right? He controls it. It's still sticky, but it's only sticky when he needs it, and in the places where he needs it to be. He's able to make constructions and stuff with it, right? So that's the idea of him. And like, of course, because he was there to stop the Great Disaster, he's also a very skilled fighter. Because if you haven't guessed it already, based on my other episodes and the kind of story that I've been talking about creating, I want to create cool battles. So Araspi Attaben, because he's one of the 14 great sages, of course he has to be an awesome fighter. Doesn't mean that he's one of the more powerful ones, especially among the 14 great sages, but it means he's still a badass. And just using magic skillfully in this world is a feat on its own, because it is dangerous, right? We can't forget about that part. That is one of the most important parts when it comes to this story that I want to create here, is that using magic in this world is potentially lethal if you don't know exactly what you're doing, especially when it comes to magic that is like basically the only magic that is considered safe to degree would be creating enchantments, enchanting objects and stuff like that. And that is only because it takes it can take such a long time, and you use so little magical energy for it to work, that it does feel safe. It is still dangerous. You can still kill yourself from magical exhaustion in this world if you're just trying to do something simple. Let's say if you're trying to cast magic, which enchanting something and casting magic are two different things. But if you're trying to cast magic, let's say you're trying to create a flame, a small little flame from the top of your finger. Imagine a lighter. You want your finger to be a lighter. For a normal person to do that successfully, they'll be out for the rest of the day if they light that flame for more than like 2 or 3 seconds. Because first of all, they don't know how to do it effectively. They don't know how large they will make the flame unless they know how to do it. Unless they've researched how the magic works. How is the magic supposed to flow? How is I haven't fully created this magical system yet, but that is like the basics of what I'm thinking for it. It is so difficult to properly utilize magic unless you're skilled enough, unless you've done your research, unless you know exactly what you're doing. You can basically just... You could die by just trying to move a small object with with magic power. Let's say I have this pen right here, right? I wanted to let it go, or let go of it with my hand. I wanted to keep it in there. Let's make it like, ooh, look at the video. Ooh, it's like it's floating. I wanted to keep it in there, and then I wanted to move it across, and then I wanted to move it to my other hand, right? If a normal person would do that in this world, and they don't know exactly what they're doing, they don't know how much magical energy they will be expending and stuff, like just all those things, they would die. Like lighting the flame, easier. It's basically just converting magical energy to a different type of energy. But here it is converting that energy. You're moving it to the air, and in the air you're basically creating something that is holding on to the... I just want it to be really dangerous. I want the magic in my world that I'm creating to be such a dangerous thing to properly use that people in general just do not do it because of the risks. But that is also why magicians and stuff like that in this world are so special. That is why they're so amazing. That is why a person like Araspi, there we go, Attaben. That is why he is such a powerful figure, even though the magic that he's using maybe doesn't seem like it is so amazing. It is incredibly difficult to do. It is incredibly difficult to even try to mimic, because first of all, you need to know how to create this webbing efficiently. And we can argue that Araspi have not figured out how to do it efficiently, because he's basically using these spider butts to store the the webbing. That is why he decided to go with this spider. Maybe not theme, but like he's decided to use the spider butt because that is the most efficient way to store it. Based on his research, he figured out that, well, spiders store something in that spider butt of theirs. What if I stored all my webbing in a spider butt? Then I can continuously like expend my magical energy into that spider butt. Like I can always be creating more magical webbing, making it easier for me to utilize it. I don't have to create it on the fly when I really need to. If I need to create a lot of it, then I have this then I have some stored up, right? That is the basics of the magic that he uses. Something to that degree, right? It is not finalized. It's just like what I've been thinking about when I'm when I'm on the bus heading to work, stuff like that. That is what I'm thinking for Araspi Attaben. And the thing about Araspi Attaben, this character is not necessarily a character that's going to be vital for the story moving forward, or just starting off, I guess. I'm not sure that I'll be utilizing this character in that way. This might just be a character that exists later on in the story, or like essentially like a flashback character, so to say. Like this is one of the 14 great sages. We'll get to know him a little bit, but he's not going to be in the focus of the story at any point whatsoever, possibly. Because I don't want to focus too much on these characters, on these 14 great sages. They're supposed to be like these amazing beings or whatever that it used to exist or that still exists or whatever. These great humans, these great magicians, like just something. Basically, I guess you could call it like a benchmark, like people that we want to compare our main cast to, our characters to. Like, oh, maybe this person, he's as powerful as one of the 14 great sages. Oh my god, they were super powerful. He's as powerful as one of them. That is so impressive. Yeah, and I even heard that his master, or his that his master is the brother of our Araspi Attaben. So we know that his master is powerful as well. Just stuff like that. That is kind of what I want to. That is how I want to build the lore about these 14 great sages, and that is why Araspi Attaben might not be a character that I will utilize in the story for the first, I don't know how long, just like maybe not even at all. Maybe he'll probably come up in conversation. I'll probably mention him, especially now that I've put some time into creating him. Of course, I want to just implement him in some way, but that doesn't mean that he'll be an important character or even have any weight to him for the story as it is right now, at least. But yeah, that is kind of where I stand right now when it comes to this character. And I'm thinking next week, hopefully, unless I forget about it, because I do have plans for next week, and I might not even release a podcast episode. We'll see about that. I might be able to record something during the week, but there's no guarantees. But the next time, I guess, the next episode, I'm thinking of showing the process of creating yet another character, or possibly focusing more on a location. Or you know what? I think I just had an idea. I don't want to say, or should I say? You know what? I'll say it right now. I think next week, and this might have this or next episode. This will probably turn into one of the longer episodes that I've ever done. If I will do this properly. Next week, I kind of want to focus on the main character. I want to show you part of the process of me creating the main character, because spoilers, I have not properly created the main character. I have a name and I have a general idea, but I have nothing more than that. So I think that's what I want to focus on next week. I think that'll be really interesting, and we'll probably start off similar to what we did with Araspi. We'll start off with just like brainstorming. I'll start on like main character. Okay, is it a man or woman? Is it an animal? Is it like whatever it might be? Like I honestly not that sure right now. So we'll start with something like that, and then we'll see how long it takes to just get some kind of solid footing where I can start creating the character, or start sketching up ideas for just general character design. But that's what I want to do. So we'll be finishing off this episode right now. This has been the Araspi Attaben update. I guess we should call this episode. We created the character last time. Now you got to see a little bit more detail of the characters and of the character, and you got to hear a little bit more about the ideas that I have about him and what I want to do with him, so to say. And I guess you got a little bit more of a look into the lore of the actual story. It's not a lot of people that have gotten to hear about that, actually. Not as of yet. But yeah, that's going to be it. I hope you're having a great day or weekend or night or whatever. I'll see you next time. All right? Bye now.